Let's talk about the top of the bracket right now, because this we've got a little bit of a taste of what a Western Conference Finals could look like. Oklahoma City faced Denver in a back-to-back, a rare home back-to-back with both games in Oklahoma City. Thunder win big in the first half of that back-to-back. I was at that game. The Nuggets win by double digits. In the second game, both MVP candidates showed out. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander had 40 in Oklahoma City's win. Jokic had 35, 18, and 8. This guy's numbers
just ridiculous.
Just bonkers in Denver's. Also played really well in the loss, too.
Yeah.
Same thing with Shai. Had a good game there. Just ridiculous how good these two guys are. They have separated themselves from the crop. Denver is sitting there right now at number 2 in the conference standings. Based on what you've seen of late, are they the biggest threat to Oklahoma City? Like, they're not going to catch the Thunder in the standings. They're still like 10 games up, I think. They're running away with it. But are the Denver Nuggets right now the biggest threat to the Oklahoma City Thunder?
I don't think you can say anyone is at this point, because you've had 2 huge shakeups with other teams in the conference that have elite players on them. So you just don't know what a Jimmy Butler, Steph Curry Warriors team is going to do in the playoffs. We know that both of those guys elevate themselves in the playoffs. You just don't know what a Luka LeBron team is going to do in the playoffs. We've never seen it before. I mean, frankly, we've never seen anything like that before, which is why everybody was scratching their head over the trade. I can't say who the biggest threat is, because I don't know the intangibles with those 2 teams. Otherwise, yes, I'd put Denver in that mix for sure, because Nikola Jokic is the best basketball player on the planet at this moment.
Yeah, I would agree with you. The Nuggets have 2, I think, pretty big questions. One is that bench unit, right? Like they've got a starting 5 that can beat anybody. When they go to the bench, though, that's when there are a few more question marks. And I think Russell Westbrook kind of personifies those question marks. That first game against Oklahoma City, he was dreadful. Couldn't make a shot. I think it was like 1 for 9 from the floor.
But a nice reception from the crowd.
Great reception from the crowd. He's always going to get that.
I thought that was actually pretty moving. And he seemed very touched and kept pounding his heart.
They love him there. There will be a statue of Russell Westbrook outside.
I thought it was great. I loved it.
Or whatever they're playing. But he was bad in that first game. He was better in the second game.
Yeah.
And that was part of the reason that Denver came out with the win. I just don't know how much you can rely on anyone within that second unit of Denver, including Russ. You've got, Peyton Watson, who's there. Zeke Naji is still there. They've got a couple of other guys in that mix. But for Denver to win, their starting lineup, I think, is going to have to approach like 40 minutes per game in these playoffs, which, look, in every postseason game, starters are stretched out. There's no doubt about that. You don't have back-to-backs in the postseason. You can get away with that. But Denver, more than any team I think that's out there, is going to have to play Jokic, Murray, Gordon, Christian Brown in that mix. They're going to have to, and Michael Porter Jr., of course, they're going to play these guys big minutes. And that, look, they're still young enough, but that to me, that's my one concern about Denver. What happens if they have to dip into that bench? How reliable is it?
Yeah, and my other concern about Denver is their perimeter defense just isn't up to scratch as what you would consider an NBA champion, right? So I think that is something that they are very vulnerable on. But as we talked about a few months ago, Jamal Murray always does this. The first half of the season, people start criticizing him. He's not as good as he used to be. What's going on with him? Why did they give him that contract? And then every year after the midpoint of the season, he starts to get better and better and better. And by the playoffs, he looks like a true partner to Jokic. They have incredible offensive firepower.
So you're just to put a pause on that for a second.
Yeah.
You're trusting, you're confident in Murray at this point, because his numbers this month have gone down. He's around 31% from 3 this month. He was 52% from 3 last month. So he was on fire all throughout February. He's kind of been this roller coaster ride, like more consistent since mid-January.
Yeah.
But you're saying you feel comfortable right now with him as the Jamal Murray of old.
I wouldn't say that if the other guy on the team wasn't Nikola Jokic.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the larger point, right? Is that how good do they need to be if that guy is at the helm? If they have holes in their game, if they're not deep enough, if the perimeter defense isn't good enough, maybe Nikola Jokic makes up for all of that. Because, I mean, he scored 2 triple-doubles in one game. I mean, it's ridiculous, right? He's doing all kinds of things that have never happened before. And we just don't know, because he had a much better cast of characters when they won the championship. We don't know if this cast of characters is really the thing that's going to drag that team down, or if he just is playing so much better, it won't matter as much. And we'll just have to see. The playoffs are such a different story. I think Russell Westbrook, unfortunately, is going to get minimized in the playoffs in a way that even during the season he hasn't been, because we all know about the targeting and things that go on during the playoffs with a guy like that. And I just, we'll have to see. In a way, though, I mean, we're going to talk about MVP at one point. Like, the lack of depth you just talked about is part of what's bolstering Jokic's MVP case.
Well, grab your phone and your dancing shoes. It's time to make entries on March college basketball with Underdog. Do you want to win up to 1,000 times your money? You can with Underdog. To play, choose whether a player will go higher or lower on one of their stats. You can play with as little as $1, and if you get everything right, you can win up to 1,000 times your money. So turn $1 into $1,000 just with your hoops knowledge. This week on Underdog, I'm looking at some college basketball and selecting Cooper Flagg for higher than 18 points and Derek Queen for higher than 10 rebounds. So download the Underdog app and sign up now using the promo code OPENFLOOR to unlock a special offer of up to $1,000 in bonus credits when you make your first deposit. Join in on the fun when you sign up with promo code OPENFLOOR. Claim your special offer today and get up to $1,000 in bonus credits instantly upon first deposit. Must be 18 plus, 19 plus in Alabama and Nebraska, 19 plus in Colorado for some games, 21 plus in Massachusetts and Arizona, and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Void where prohibited. Terms apply. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. In Arizona, 1-800-NEXT-STEP. That's 1-800-639-8783. Or text NEXT STEP to 53342. In New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. Then let's dive into that MVP case, because that was two high-profile games between the two clear front-runners for MVP. One of those games nationally televised, big afternoon game on ABC.
Yep.
And that was the game that Shea kind of showed out in.
Yep.
And the second half was just dominated by Oklahoma City. Is your vote still there to be had? Are you still considering which direction to go?
I feel like I've heard like a million of these conversations. I feel like we are the only one where two actual voters are having this conversation. Yep. I have not decided yet.
Are you a lean one way or the other right now?
I'm really not, because
okay. Wow,
I know
we're like 80% through the season. You're still.
I know.
Okay.
I usually really wait till the end to make a judgment, unless it's just so patently obvious. But on the Harden Westbrook MVP race, on the Embiid Jokic MVP race, for me it was just sort of, okay, you have to see the whole season, because we definitely take into account the first 20% of the season. It's not like we don't count that.
Yep.
So you've got to also count the last 20% of the season. I think they both have incredibly strong cases. I mean, if either one of those won, you couldn't say, oh man, I can't believe that. That was a mistake. If either of these guys win, you have to say, yeah, that's an MVP. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is the best player on the best team in the West. He is sensational defensively. He leads a younger team in a way that belies how young he is himself. And his all-around game is just so impressive, and consistency is so impressive. On the other hand, Nikola Jokic, he said it the other day. He said, this is the best I've ever played, which if you were a 3-time MVP, that is a statement, man. I mean, that's as close to bragging as Nikola Jokic gets. But then you look at his numbers. He's a career high in scoring. He's at a career high in three-point percentage. He's at a career high in steals, which we know is a big part of his game. He's right. This is the best he's ever played. So in terms of his numbers and his ability, you can't discount any of that. And then also, I mentioned it going into this conversation, it does matter to me to some degree. It's not the decider, but it matters to me to some degree of being valuable to your team. And when Jokic is off the floor, there is a 20-point differential between when he is on or off, and when
positively
Shai,
Steph-esque.
Exactly. And when Shai is on or off the floor, by the way, it's not little, it's 15 points, but it's less, right? It's a quarter less. So it just, I think they're both, I just think they're both worthy. And, you've heard me say this for 10 plus years now. This shouldn't just be one award. The NFL, to me, does it right. They have an MVP, but then they have Offensive Player of the Year and Defensive Player of the Year. And those last two awards are for who had the best bonkers season on both of those sides of the ball this season.
So if that were in play this season, who would be your right now? If the season stopped today,
right?
Who would be your MVP? Who would be your Offensive Player of the Year?
Well, I don't think you can really do offensive, defensive in basketball. I think it would be some sort of best season award versus like best, most valuable.
That's tough. That's so confusing for fans. That like,
but again,
you're saying
other
most
leagues,
valuable. Like, could most valuable then become like a role player? If that role player has incredible value because player X gets injured midway through the season, this guy takes over.
Look, we saw Russell Westbrook win this award when he was not the best all-around player compared to the guy he was competing with for this award because he had more value to his team in that moment.
I think sentiment came into play that year too.
Well, it matters.
He stuck around. Kevin Durant left. I think he was always kind of, and he put he nowadays triple doubles are coming fast and furious, but Russell Westbrook averaging a triple-double in a season had not been seen since Oscar Robertson.
Which is not a sentimental thing.
No.
And where that storyline came into play for me as a voter wasn't, he stayed and Kevin Durant left. It was more about he inherited the lead role on a team that was sort of left in shambles.
And had them finishing, sixth, I think, that year, which is not nothing. Like, to have a team that lost Kevin Durant and stayed in that mix. I remember seeing the stats or the graphics, whatever they were, about like how, hey, when Chris Paul left New Orleans, they collapsed. When Dwight Howard left Orlando, they collapsed.
Dallas's record after Luka left.
Yeah, so that's a whole different ball of wax.
I have long been saying I think there should be an outstanding season award because an outstanding season should be recognized. When someone puts together the kind of numbers that some of these guys put together in 1 year, we should reward them for that. And we shouldn't make them compete against guys who are being judged on how much value do you bring to a team. And the MVP can be what it is in the NFL, which is, man, who's the best player out there? And are they bringing a value to their team? I think the reason Jason Tatum is sort of knocked around in MVP voting is people are like, the rest of the team is really good. How much value is he bringing compared to other guys, right? Nikola Jokic is bringing tremendous value to his team by playing, as he put it, the best he's ever played on a team that is not as deep, as you put it, as almost any of these other contenders in the league. Would you say that they have the least amount of depth of any of these?
It goes back to what we were just talking about. Like,
right?
I think in the playoffs, going to play 5 guys.
Yeah.
Like, to win. Oklahoma City, God, they go legit 10 deep with real NBA talent, with 10 guys that could be starters in this league. And that doesn't even include some of the guys that are out. I was going to write something at some point about Nikola Topic, who's the lottery pick from last year, who they're really excited on for next year in Oklahoma City. Like, he's taking the entire year off, and he's going to come back in Summer League, and they're going to see what they have in him. So they've got great depth. I wouldn't say I've made up my mind on MVP, but I have been lean Shea for a couple of months now.
Sure.
I think a big part of it...
Totally fair.
Yeah. A big part of it is the two-way game. He is clearly the best two-way player in that field. And I do value winning. And they have been basically wire-to-wire leaders in the Western Conference. Even with Denver's recent run, they're about 10 games up on them in the standings. Frankly, what has kept me from saying absolutely Shea has been this recent run that Denver's been on. Like, they are now at number 2. Like, I don't know, if they could chip away a couple more games and get within like 5 games of Oklahoma City by the end of the season, might that have an impact on me? I don't know. That's kind of why I'm still lean towards Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, but I'm not all the way there yet.
And by the way, if in my system of most outstanding season and MVP, Shea would still be a candidate for MVP and a very high-ranking and possibly winning candidate for MVP because his value to Oklahoma City is so huge. But it just makes the awards process more interesting to count those two things separately because every voter votes differently with their MVP vote and takes one of those two factors into account more. And I think it would be very clarifying for the league and fans if we could separate those two factors and have people voting on what they're voting on. And in some years, it could be the same guy winning both things. And that would be an extra cool thing for the NBA awards, right? If he's the winner in both of these. And easily, as I said, even if it was separated, it could be Shea this year, but we'll never know because the NBA has not adopted my brilliant scheme. And I think it's just an incredibly close race and fun and at least so far, not as toxic as some of the NBA MVP races we have seen in the past, where people are just tearing at each other. And I think the franchises and the two stars themselves have set the tone for that. They've been so complimentary about the other guy. And I just think that the fans have followed suit.
Can I tell you, if you want to have an objective conversation about any award, do not spend a game sitting next to Matt Tumbleson of the Oklahoma City Thunder.
This is true.
That's who I sat next to for the Oklahoma City Denver game. And I got Shea for MVP. I got Jalen Williams for All NBA. I got the other Jalen Williams for Teammate of the Year, which I don't think we vote on. I don't think that guy's in that mix.
That's not
Lou
our...
Dort for All Defensive Team. I spent the entire game getting an earful from Matt Tumbleson.
But you have to say what Matt's job is.
He is the PR director for the Oklahoma
So
City
he is
Thunder.
literally doing his job sitting next to you. That is literally what he's getting paid for.
I sat next to him and to our friend Nick Gallo of the local TV outlet down there. I've been in Oklahoma City for a long time. And the two of them just talking up Oklahoma City guys. I'm like, fellas, I need at least one person between you two next time I come back down here, because this is a lot of Thunder propaganda being pushed out there at the moment. But yes, well done, Matt Tumbleson. Your PR duties are a hit.